Well, music and film have always gone hand in hand, and there's examples of that throughout history. Um, Not that Dirty Dancing is great history, but that was a prime example of music and film, of the soundtrack driving the film, basically. And another one, obviously, is Titanic. And the composer of Titanic, by coincidence, lives across the street from me. His name is James Horner. And it was funny because as Titanic was climbing the charts, I saw him buying up more and more property around him. So, I mean, he made a fortune. I mean, between the Celine Dion record and soundtrack. So there's always been an integration. I did a John Belushi movie called Continental Divide, where I used Helen Reddy. I produced Helen Reddy to do the title theme song of that. And I did a movie called Swamp Thing years ago, which is, I'd rather forget. And actually a very funny example of a movie, for me anyway, was Theme from Raging Bull, where Joe Pesci was always a very, very dear friend of mine. As a matter of fact, he's a singer and I produced his first record. I think the music industry is becoming more aware of how important filmmaking is for music and for the music industry. And I just think it's a win-win for everybody, as well as TV, by the way, television, and music on television. And it was very funny because years ago when I was in the business, when you had a new artist and you said they're doing the Merv Griffin show, the Mike Douglas show, Johnny Carson show, they said it's a kiss of death. Years ago, when an artist did a TV show, it was the kiss of death.
Really?
Yeah, it was crazy. It was crazy. And I can't think of any examples, but trust me, it was, nobody wanted their artist on television. Now, it's a 180-degree turn. Now, they crave media exposure on television, and certainly in film as well. And the prime example for me of that is David Hasselhoff. When I created David's entire career in Germany, his recording career, when Knight Rider was on.
Wow.
I know, and what happened, Knight Rider had run its course, Baywatch wasn't even in existence yet. And I met David, and all he wanted to do was sing. All David wanted to do was sing. And he saw my gold records on the wall, and he said, "You're in the music business, huh?" I said, "Yeah." He said, he got turned down by every record label. This is during the height of Knight Rider. Got turned down by every record label. They laughed at him. So I said, "David, just by accident, you got to sell records." So, make a long story short, I took $40,000 out of my pocket and I made I cut 3 masters with them. Actually, they weren't demos, they were masters. And I went to CBS again, and CBS said, "Are you crazy, David Hasselhoff?" And Knight Rider had run its course. He was actually, David's very lucky guy. He's always in the right place at the right time. And so I convinced CBS to give me the $75,000 to finish the album, the CD. So they did. They put the record out, and it bombed. I mean, unmercifully bombed. People magazine had it in picks and plays, and they said, David should keep his day job, and yada, yada, yada. I get a call 1 year later from CBS International, and they said to me, "Do you know you have the #1 album in Germany this week? You are outselling Michael Jackson." I said, "What?" I had no idea what they were talking about. And they said, apparently what happened, Knight Rider went into syndication in Munich, and Sony decided to re-release my album I did with David, and we sold 3 million copies. And David became a huge star in Germany. And then after the recording career started dying down a bit, he was in the right place at the right time again for Baywatch.
Yeah.
And now, of course, America's Got Talent. He's on the #1 show in its time slot. The great David Geffen line, the place of employment is in my head. And I'm doing everything, for me. And David, a great line he also said, that was certainly one of my highlights. I gave David Geffen his first 7-figure deal in the business. When he was with, I was working at CBS at the time. He had an artist named Laura Nero, which you may or may not remember. You're too young to remember that. And I gave David his first 7-figure deal, and he walked away with $2 million. Laura walked away with $2 million. Laura took her $2 million and partied. David took his $2 million and started a record label, and signed Jackson Browne, Linda Ronstadt, and the Eagles. And I saw David just about a year ago, and he was standing around some people, and he said to the people, he said, "This is the guy that gave me my first 7-figure deal," which is sort of really nice when people remember. As with Tommy Mottola, who became the longest running president of CBS, he married Mariah Carey. Tommy was my assistant when I was at Mercury Records, even before CBS. And Tommy had just gotten released off of Epic. He was a recording artist. His name was T.D. Valentine. And he didn't have a job. And somebody said, "Would you see this kid as your assistant?" So I saw Tommy Mottola. And I hired him. And then my company that I was working for, it was called MRC Music, which stood for Mercury Record Corporation, was being absorbed into the parent company. My position was already taken, but the second slot was open. So I made a call over there. I said, I got Tommy Mottola here, and he needs a job. And I know that slot is open. And so Tommy got the job, and there were 2 writers, unknown to anybody, named Hall and Oates, who were struggling. And Tommy took them under his wing, and the rest is history. The best concise statement I could make is that the same technology that took down the music industry will also take the music industry to new heights. And if anybody is blind to that, they're going to lose. And there are still a lot of people who are fighting it. And the best advice I can give is embrace technology and go with it and try to look and peek around the corner, see what's coming.